So I'm curious, does anybody here ever go camping? Maybe go hiking sometimes? Yeah, me too. I've never been a scout, but I think that might have something to do with scouting. It's funny that we can talk about camping today because that first reading we heard about Moses talking to the people came at the very end of a very long camping and hiking trip. Like it was 40 years of hiking and camping. I don't think the best scout could survive that. Moses was giving his camp their guide for setting up their new home in the Promised Land. Those Israelites were meant to set up camp according to the law that God had given them in the wilderness, just like any scout camp is supposed to run according to the scout law, which I think goes something like to be trustworthy and loyal, and there's got to be more to that, isn't there? Yeah. Jesus also today gives a little bit of kind of law for Christian camping. Some guideposts that are supposed to mark the lives of those who gather here in this tent. That we should be merciful, that we should be seeking justice, that we should be peacemakers. Those marks of being in the Christian camp. It strikes me that camping and hiking are something that both scouts and churches might share in common. If you look above, you might notice that from the inside, this church looks a little bit like some tents might. I don't think that's an accident. Because like Moses and the Hebrew people, like scouts on a hike, we are all on our way somewhere. I wonder what we might learn from each other about what makes a good camp. Well, to get started, if you're going to go on a camping trip, you have to plan for it, right? I think there's a motto that goes with it, something like, is it be prepared? Be prepared to go on a camping trip. You got to have all the materials that you need, all of the food. You have to work together to make sure there's enough for everyone. And if you're really prepared, you might pack a little extra so that you would be prepared to share if you needed to. One time I went on a camping trip and was boiling my noodles in a pot on the camp stove and kicked it right over into the ground. Bad preparation and no dinner for me. But lucky for me, there were some campers there who were prepared to share and gave me some food. Being prepared to share, that seems like the makings of a good campground, whether you're scouts or cubs or whether you're a church. You know, setting up a camp also takes some skill, right? You got to be able to put up the tent. You got to be able to prepare the place that you're going to prepare your meals. You got to know where to put the food so the animals don't get into it. And you got to know how to break the camp down so you leave no trace that you were there. Now, not everyone is an expert at that. And first among those non-experts at that, me. I am not a natural camper. Luckily, my partner David is a very good camper. He knows how to put up the tent. He knows how to freeze dry the food so you mix it with boiling water and then you eat it. He knows how to do all that stuff. And the first time we went camping, I needed him to teach me how to do it. And it took me a little while, but slowly I've gotten better and better at it, and I can now pack a mean backpack so it fits on your back just right. But it strikes me that good campground needs people who know what they're doing and people willing to teach others how to do it. Maybe that's why we have Tigers and Cubs and Scouts and then Eagle Scouts and all the leaders in there, not just so that we can earn merit badges, but so that our campground gets stronger because we all know what we're doing together. It kind of sounds like something that would be good for a church camp, too. And then there's the hike. Now, what do you need for a good hike? A map, a compass, enough water for the trip, a good leader. You know what are also helpful for me? Guideposts along the way so that I know I'm on the right track. But you know, those guideposts aren't just about following the path in the ground. They're guideposts about how we hike together. Guidance and rules, Can everyone participate? Does everyone have what they need? Is everyone safe? Are we talking to each other along the way? Where do we find those kinds of guideposts? The Scouts find them in the Oath and in the Scout Law. Churches might find them in the words of Jesus, like the Beatitudes. If you're at a synagogue, you might look for your guideposts in the teaching of Moses and the Torah. Or if you're at a mosque, it would be in the Quran. All kinds of places to find those guideposts, and I bet you know they overlap. So planning ahead and being prepared to share. Leaders who teach and people willing to learn. Guideposts to keep us on the right path. All that sounds like a good way to have a good campground, whether you're Scouts or Cubs or a church or any other kind of group. It makes me wonder, though, what would it be like if we started comparing notes? What would it be like if we started sharing our gifts and the skills we have? What kind of jamboree would it be if so many packs and troops, so many churches and mosques and synagogues, so many other kinds of groups that want to build a better world got together and shared what we knew? What kind of campground could we build if we shared all those gifts together? I think it would make the world a better place. I would like to pitch my tent in that kind of campground. What about you?